Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Legends of Be Wealthy on Thursdays. As you guys know, this is my favorite scale to wealth portion that we get to do each week. I end up talking about it all week long to absolutely everyone, which I'm sure could be slightly annoying to them, but it is absolutely my favorite part of the week. And this week we have our friend, our new member of Be Wealthy, Jason Bramblett. Hi, Jason.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing today?
Doing awesome.
Great.
I also drink an incredible amount of caffeine on Thursdays, so I come at you kind of hot. But now that my internet's working, I don't see anything holding us back.
Absolutely. We're great. We're great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'd love to start if you could share with us a little bit about your world, your business, where you're located, kind of the Jason statistics, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I'm located in Greensboro, North Carolina, so pretty much dead in the center of the state, but about an hour north of Charlotte. We are called the Triad, so we're a three-city market, which is Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point. If you ever decide to move one of those, I don't encourage you to get into real estate. It's such a pain to service so many different areas. So being in one city would seem easier, I would say, but it's actually been great. 25 years in the business. We do pretty much everything residentially focused. We do some commercial, but yeah, real estate has really been good. I was a chef prior to this, and went to college at Johnson & Wales University in Charleston, South Carolina, and enjoyed Charleston. Fun town, lots to do, great food, downtown, all that. Got my first job managing a restaurant up here in Greensboro, and I was here for like 72 hours. I thought, this has got to be the most boring town ever when you are used to nightlife and tourism and activities and all that. And so 29 years later, still here. So wow. I guess it grew on me.
No kidding. No kidding. That I can understand the whiplash effect of going from a busy later in the evening, especially town like Charleston, to something a little bit more sleepy.
Yeah, definitely. This place closes up about 9 o'clock, which now at my age now, perfect.
Perfect. I was about to say that's my bedtime, but at 22 or 24,
exactly.
That probably wasn't. Exactly. So, well, you had some big transitions there. So talk to us a little bit about going from the chef world and running your own restaurant to real estate.
Right. So, yeah, I tell you, it's a great transition though. One thing about folks that grow up definitely in the restaurant business, they're not scared of hard work. I mean, my average day was 16 to 18 hours, pretty easy. We'd run 13 to 15 days in a row before you got a day off normally. If you got 2 off in a month, that was pretty good, especially during the events and weddings and all those kind of things. I was the executive chef at the Officers Club at the Charleston Air Force Base for 3 years, and I mean, it would be nothing for us to have, two weddings going with 500-600 people in each one. We had 3 restaurants, 2 bars, and a fine dining, place. So it was wide open. So coming from that environment to Greensboro was much slower. So that was easier. Managing the restaurant was easy, but it was kind of boring. And so I had this group of ladies that used to come in every Wednesday night, and they just happened to be real estate agents. And I don't know, one of them caught me on a good night when it was just, I was bored, and I was like, there's gotta be something more to whatever than just doing this. And she's like, you got to get in real estate. So I did. And 25 years later, that was it. I got my license and just decided to go for it. And haven't looked back. So started in land development and working with builders, and then as the markets change and shift over the years, you adapt and move and do different things. But yeah, it's and quite frankly, real estate felt like a part-time job when you go from working 16, 18 hours a day to basically 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 or whatever. It wasn't hot, and it wasn't stressful, and it was pretty it's pretty good transition, really.
That's so funny. My husband and I have this philosophy. We both worked our way through school, high school, college, for him, dental school too, in restaurants. And we believe that it is easily some of the best training you could have in your entire life, from knowing
Absolutely.
in the weeds, knowing how to prioritize, as a server, taking blame for something that you really had no control over.
That's right.
When it comes to, hey, the chef made my meal and my saltimbocca is a little salty. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
taking the blame for that, overcoming objections, the hustle, understanding needs, and then really understanding people at their best and their worst. I think it's just some of the best training in the world.
Yeah, for sure. It's where I figured out, that's where I learned that I could sell. I worked in a high-end restaurant for a while, actually waiting tables. And, every night that they would, have a special. And I was just like, whatever. I just made up my own. So I would just like grab a filet that was $30 and add a lobster tail that was $39, because it was an additional add-on. I just
Yeah.
made my own special. And finally, the owner came to me one night. He's like, how do you keep selling all these surf and turfs? I mean, I've never seen anything like it. My average check was probably $95 a person, because I was just making this stuff up. I was just putting things together. And then he's like, will you be our trainer? So I was like, oh geez. So then I got back into a job that I didn't really want, but anyway, but I don't know. It's always come kind of natural to me to just look for opportunity within opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. You made your own special based on highest possible ticket price.
Absolutely. Well, I
It's
mean,
delicious. You weren't doing a disservice.
no, absolutely. They love the food. It was great. So yeah. And I figured weren't posting anywhere. It wasn't like a low, it wasn't like you walk in and see a board with tonight's
Yeah.
special. We had to explain whatever it was.
It was a super special.
It was a super special. That's right.
So you transition out of the restaurant business and look at real estate and go, guys, this seems part-time. You start with in land development, working with builders. What did that kind of look like? What did the initial launching pad for you? And then how did you end up transitioning into really starting your own residential real estate business?
Yeah, so not quite as bad as it is today in America, but when I started in 1998, inventory was very low. And so we didn't have a lot of small cottage builders, if you will, in our marketplace. It was a lot of the nationals or regionals, and really you had to wait on them to get the subdivision to roll out.
Exactly.
But I found a lot of little custom builders, and then I started working with some of their framers to help them build homes. But I found all these infill lots. So, and what I mean by that is an older subdivision. Sometimes folks would buy 3 lots and then put their house in the middle for privacy. And so you had 2 buildable lots on either side of the house.
Sure.
And so I just started dialing for dollars and door knocking, and it's like, hey, if I could, get you whatever, it was low, it was probably like $15,000 or $20,000 back then, get you X amount of numbers for this lot, could I build a new house on it? And many people were like, yeah. And a lot of them had turned into rental properties at that time. And a lot of vacant opportunities. So I got really good at searching the county court records and the Register of Deeds office. And this was before computers, guys. This was taking your butt downtown to the vault, old school, and looking at paper plat books and yeah, nuts. And so I one day was like, wow, there's a lot of out of state people. And so I started writing letters to them. Say, hey, I'm a real estate guy. You looks like you may have inherited this lot. I'm interested in buying it. And I was buying these lots for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and turning around and selling them for $30,000 and $40,000, because most of these people just have been sitting on them forever. They've just been paying the tax bills $40 a year. It wasn't a big inconvenience. They inherited the property. And I did hundreds and hundreds of those. Sadly, today we could use that same thing, but there's not many of those lots left. I think we got almost all of them back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So But it was a great way for me to build relationships. So then I started to sell the lots to the builders, and I put a stipulation in our contract that if I sold them the lot, we had to sell the house when they built it. And so we were able to, get a little bit of momentum going.
Wonderful. That makes, I love the strategic application of, from the land development component. One of the nice parts about working with a builder specifically is having the ability to scale quickly and have, one client on one end and obviously several on the other. You did the same thing with the infill lots as well. How can I take a large blanket approach to this rather than onesie twosie matching things up?
Yeah, it was quick because, you think about with the subdivision, you got all the regulation, but you got to wait on the street, the curb, the gutter, the sidewalks. Well, when you go into a 1970s neighborhood, it's already there. It's
Exactly.
done. It's just, you're good to go.
I love it. So you started building. So at this point, it was just you.
Yeah. I work for a small brokerage, still in business today, actually. She's really done well for herself. But there's only 3 of us there. I stayed for about 18 months. And then I went to a franchise called Realty Executives.
Yep.
And I was with them for 8 years. And then in 2008, at the most opportune time that you could ever do any kind of change, I decided to go independent and just do my own thing.
Ah, perfect. Great timing.
Because nothing exciting happened in 2008 at all, nothing. So, but we learned quickly. I was actually selling a gentleman's home that was getting relocated. He was a veteran. And at that time, we didn't even think to ask, hey, what do you owe on this house? Like, it wasn't even a question. It's like common sense would say, you kind of need to sell it for more than you owe. You would think, right? Well, what we found was common sense wasn't too common, and I had never run into that situation, so I didn't ask the question. And turns out he was upside down. And so I called the bank, and I'm like, what do we do? I mean, I don't know the guy's got to move. He doesn't want a foreclosure. And the mortgage guy's like, well, let's do a short sale. I'm like, what's that? I was like, well, he's like, we will help the veteran and take less for the mortgage. But we got to go through some qualification steps. And I was like, okay, whatever. And it was really quick back then because the market hadn't crashed yet. This guy just was unfortunate, 100% loan and a short time in the house. But I learned from that. And so when the market did crash, I remembered short sale. I bet other banks do these things. So we probably did about, I don't know, 1,300 short sales and for 3-4 years that we were in that mess.
Did you look at people like the veteran you had represented and said and advertised to them if I can help you with a short sale? Or were you helping the bank sell properties after they got the short sale back, got the property back?
We did both, but more so, it was more so with the consumer than it was the bank. We have it was a big regional banker, BB&T. Now they are Truist now, but we were doing so many. Their office in Raleigh called me and was like, "Hey, can we just refer these to?" There was no loss mitigation department. I mean, none of these people had been hired yet. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. And so we learned, and it was a lot of work, a lot of hours. I did work a lot of hours during those days. But I found a back door. I realized that the loss mitigation department, I'd have to talk to 14 different people because I'm the real estate guy and they didn't know what they were doing. I'm trying to train them. Well, I ran into an attorney. I was like, here's my problem. Can you help me? Well, one thing I realized is when an attorney calls the bank, the person at loss mitigation doesn't get to talk to the attorney. They bypass everybody and go straight to the decision makers.
Yep.
And so Dustin came on board with us, an attorney out of Raleigh, and he was able to expedite our processes. I mean, we went from probably an average of 14 to 16 months in a short sale to like 6. And
What
so
an
we were,
incredible value proposition.
yes, we were able to crank the volume up considerably. Yeah, the longest one I had was with Chase Bank. It took 33 months to get them to agree to the short sale.
That sounds very Chase-like.
It does. I mean, and in real estate agents today, they're like, what? I'm like, okay, so we sold the house 9 times to 9 different people because they would get tired of waiting because Chase would never make a decision. So, Caitlin says, I'm done. We're going to go buy another house. And we sell it to somebody else, resubmit another package. 33 months, 9 different people. We finally did get it sold. But yeah, crazy times.
Wow. That is that's like an old war veteran story.
Right. Oh, I know. I got agents today. It's like, hey, my listing's been on for 7 days. What do I tell the owner? Because they have no frame of reference.
Oh, they don't understand the norm.
I mean, back in those days, it was nothing. Me personally, I was carrying 130 to 160 listings myself. I had 2 assistants. And Fridays were follow-up Fridays. We did no other business on Fridays but follow up with our owners to tell them, Caitlin, yes, it's been another month, and yes, no one has wanted to see your house. And what do we do about that? Right? It was just a race to the bottom in those days.
Wow.
It was
Catching the falling
way
knives.
different, way different for sure.
So at that point, it's you're running this entirely on your own, 130,
Right.
160 listings. You have 2 assistants.
Correct.
Are those full-time assistants?
Yeah, both were. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
And was that, you'd been in leadership roles before. Was that a challenge for you to start leading people in the office in this new world outside of the restaurant world?
From an operations standpoint, not at all. From a real estate agent standpoint, like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. Well,
What does that mean? What's the difference?
Well, it's okay. You remember the waitress that used to always call out like every Saturday morning, because of Friday night.
I was going to say she had a great Friday night.
Exactly. Or him or her, either way. That's how I feel like sometimes real estate agents are. It's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, yes, you have to follow up. Yes, you have to make calls. Yes, you have to have face-to-face meetings. Yes, you have to do. It isn't just going to show up because you got your real estate license, and I feel sometimes that part of it, it's tougher. I've actually even considered not having independent contractor status with my agents and actually making them be W-2 employees. It's just tax wise, it doesn't make sense yet. Hopefully someday it will. Well, maybe someday if the IRS has their way, we won't even have a choice. That'll be the way that it is. So I don't know. But that's the tough thing, is getting independent contractors to realize that it takes self-discipline to be successful.
Yeah, it's the difference between your servers in the front of the house and your sous chef in the back of the house.
Yeah, for sure.
He shows up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Interesting. So your ops team, your assistants, they're working great. You're running and gunning, but short sales eventually dry up. What happens next?
So that's when we started to definitely, I did get out of the listing. So I hired a listing partner, brought that person on. That was actually my first hire, to leverage myself. I realized really quick, my experience is this: if you're ever going to hire operations people, hire 2, because when they quit, you get your job back. And so I hired 1 listing partner, and that didn't last very long. And then guess who the listing agent was again?
This guy.
Me, yes. And so I realized, okay, we've got to do this in bigger and at a bigger scale. So we decided, okay, let's bring on 2 or 3 listing agents. We'll keep the 2 best or whatever. And it turned out just to work out just like that. Actually, the 3rd person just left on their own, realizing they weren't, really doing the work. But that did allow me to start to scale the buyer agent side of the business with some newer folks. So that's what we did for, basically, I don't know, 10 years pretty much. And then we got to this really super ninja elite team. Super high transaction count. My agents were selling on average 38 to 40 homes per year per agent. It was just a great little ninja team. And but real estate changes, and what I realize now, and this is where we did make the shift about 4 years ago, is what I realized coming into this high intensity market and now the low inventory market is there's probably not enough people that are going to buy and sell. And I think it's true because I'm seeing these numbers work throughout the United States, where someone that is, I guess, well branded, well known in the community, that's been doing this for a long time, there's still a large percentage of people that aren't going to call me. They're going to call their cousin, they're going to call their aunt, they're going to call their sister, whoever, the person they go to church with. And so we've refocused to look at those folks, because realizing that I'm never going to get a chance to get in front of that seller or buyer, because they're going to use that small relationship circle that they have. Mm-hmm. So I thought about it and I was like, well, Cindy may not sell a lot of homes, but if Cindy sells 5 homes, I know I can make her a better agent than anybody. We have the operation support team. So why don't we go get 100 of her and add 500 units to our business this year? So that's what we've been doing. I've been running ads. Started last year with this. This is an attention getter if you guys want to scale your business. I was reading our business journal that comes out to us every week in the community. And, we've got a Toyota battery manufacturer coming here. They're bringing 3,000 jobs. We've got this company called Boom Sonic that's coming. They're bringing 600 jobs. And Mack Truck did an expansion and they added 200. It was all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And what have I heard real estate agents say over the years and years? Like, yeah, I'm looking for a couple good agents. Well, guess what? A couple doesn't get you any attention. So we decided that we're hiring 300 agents. And so we just started blasting that everywhere. Social media, radio, TV. The first week, almost every broker owner in the Triad called me and said, what are you doing?
What did you say? So I call you and I'm like, Jason, what are you doing? How could you possibly hire 300 agents in our small triad area?
Right. And they were like, well, where are you going to put them at first? I said, we'll worry about that later. Let's just get them first. Sure. But what it did, it got me attention. It got me a tremendous amount of attention, because people are like, I've never even heard of this before. And so we had a lot of real estate agents that were raising their hand. Like, I mean, think about it. Do you want to, if you're looking for an opportunity, do you want to go with a growing company, or do you want to go try to find a company and see if they're growing?
Yeah. You want to go with the one who's changing, growing, doing something different, especially if you're in pain.
100%. So that's our messaging still. Out there, we do a weekly radio show and we talk about that, and a lot of our ads. So we're fortunate to have Sean Hannity as a partner, and Bobby Bones is one of our advocates, and some other people, and Amy is co-host there, and so they put that message out there for us pretty well. And not only do we get agents that are struggling, but we get a lot of brand new agents. So we've added this year, we've added 36 agents so far. I don't know that we'll get to 100 by the end of the year, but I do know that after school starts, more agents move between Labor Day and December 31st than they do any other time of the year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very possible, at least in our market, very, very possible we could add another 60 in that final Q3, Q4 to get to our 100. It is possible.
So I got to go back a second. 4 years ago, we've got Sniper Team. Everybody's doing 38 to 40 transactions. You're saying we're going only Navy SEALs. Now you said we've got the SEALs, but maybe we have a Navy as well. how many people did you have 4 years ago? And what does today look like? You said you've added 36, but
Yeah.
what is the total?
We had, let's see, 4 years ago, there were 8. And now we have 48. Yeah, that should be right, 48.
Okay. That is a big shift to a culture, to
Yeah.
onboarding, recruiting. This is a huge transition. So what does your infrastructure look like? What does your role look like? Paint the picture for us today.
Yeah, so we have a full-time person that onboards agents. Amy does that. She's our full-time onboarding and offboarding, unfortunately, but she is full-time onboarding. That's what we prefer. Courtney is our full-time trainer, and she just does a bang-up job with the new agents. So she takes them through the forms, the tech, all that kind of stuff. And then I do the training typically at least once a week. So that's scripts, role play, mindset, a lot of what I've realized with doing this fast is there's a lot of people that get in real estate to escape personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is that's the one thing that makes you successful. And so we have to, I just did an entire hour training this week on the controllables, doing what you can control every single day. And I could tell just they've never heard that before because they've always been told what to do, but not really thought about it for themselves, So that's more my role, and then just vision as to where we want to move to next. So we have 7 people on staff to assist and run and help the 40-something agents that we have.
What do the standards look like? Because I'm sure that's shifted quite a bit from 4 years ago to today. What are the, I speak with some of the members in our group, and they'd love to recruit a ton of people. They tend to recruit a bunch of people and then a bunch of agents, and then holding them accountable becomes a big challenge because as soon as you hold them accountable, they say, I had a great Friday night. I'm not coming in for my Saturday brunch shift, right? Just like in the server industry. What are the standards and how do you balance that?
So train, tolerate, and terminate. And we don't
the 3 T's.
Yeah, and we don't tolerate.
Okay.
So now we're stuck with 2.
Yeah.
Train or leave.
Okay. So
and
what
that's
does
in
that
their best, and it's in their best interest. And we give them 90 days. We give them some time, because it is a transition. When you go from being told what to do and where to be and all that to total freedom, and you can get lost in that. And so we give them some time. And then after 90 days, some will just weed themselves out. I mean, that obviously just happens, and we have some that are just hanging on. They're doing pretty good. So if they're not fully engaged where we want to be, we do add a cost to them at that point. They have to start paying for the tech. They're not using it to their full capacity. So they'll pay $100 a month for our tech. That just isn't much money, but it does motivate some people. And then we've also created created a leverage piece for our top agents. So if you are still struggling just a little bit and you don't want to pay the $100, we created a way in which you can avoid that. So you can do an open house for one of our top agents, and you can go show properties for some of our top buyers agents. And so you can be an assistant to them essentially. And it's not a big deal. You just do one open house and go show properties 2 days a week. And so it worked out really well. Our top agent, I have one agent, I don't know that she's even showed a house this year. It's just, she just leverages this beautifully. So it's been a great little added bonus for some of our leaders.
Sure. What an incredible value proposition for you to retain that top talent and keep them in-house.
Yeah, and it's no cost to them at all. So there's no commission they're paying. There's nothing. It's those folks are doing that they want to stay on the team. But for some people's sales, it takes a little longer, not everybody's a rocket ship, I mean, actually, one of my best agents, I don't even think they sold a home for 4 months when they started with us, and now they're doing great. They, sell 2 to 3 a month.
Sure.
And so I have learned in my younger, 2008 was a different Jason. I have learned to be a little more patient with folks for sure. Back then I was being coached by much more of a militant person that was just like, fish or cut bait, get them out of here. And now I've learned that, I don't know if that was, I can look back at some folks that I did that with. In hindsight, I that was the wrong decision.
Too aggressive.
Yeah.
When you look at where you're going, right? So the vision is 300. End of this year is 100 agents.
That's right.
What challenges or obstacles do you look at that capacity? We have some of our great members on this call, like Jordan. Jordan has explosive growth. He's multiple business lines and his team's growing really rapidly. His wholesale business is growing really rapidly. But even someone who's growing exponentially may look at 300 agents and go, holy, see, I censored myself there. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Why are you not nervous about that? Or if you were, what would you be nervous about?
I'm actually not at all. I'm very optimistic about it. So,
Okay.
And the reason being is now let's just think of it at scale. Let's just say we have 300. Now I have 300 people that are out there bird dogging opportunities for me in a wholesale business or a flip business. Mm-hmm. Okay. My mortgage partners are very excited about what they can bring to the table. Our MSA is looking better and better every day. And so that's created another opportunity. And we may even look, we were in a joint venture mortgage company right exactly when we decided to launch it. Rates went to 7%. I just said, we're gonna hold. We're gonna hold for now. But as we scale that, it would not make sense for me not to look at it again if we get to 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 units. And that's really what I'm looking at it. Now I've got these little soldiers out here, 300, 400, 500 agents that can bring deals to us. We can look at the wholesale opportunities. And then of course we do have a title company, so that creates another leverage piece. The mortgage is something we would definitely look at again for sure. So, but to me, I've always looked at, and I tell our agents every day that when you're out there, it's like, guys, the first question we need to ask ourselves is, can we buy this house? And if the answer is no, then it's okay, let's sell it for them.
Totally. Absolutely. For those of you who may be watching and aren't necessarily haven't seen this yet, Jason and Brett are wildly aligned in this methodology of utilizing our operating business of the retail real estate team specifically, and utilizing it not only to generate operating income, but really where the deal flow is. And Jason's done an incredible job, and he just told you how. Of first question of everything that comes across is, do we want to buy it? Whether that's versus most agents are out there saying, man, listings are everything. If I can just control the listing, I'll control everything else. But both Jason and Brett really look at, and many members of our group, I know Jordan's been doing this a lot on the acquisition and the wholesale side as well. First, can I buy it? If I can't buy it, can I control it? Can I buy it and sell it as a promissory note and be the banker? Can I wholesale it? If I can't wholesale and that doesn't make sense, should I create value and flip it? If that doesn't make sense, then can I use one of my buyers and double end it? And then last but not least, can I list it? So now when you look at, I love how you said it. Now, when you look at the 300 agents, you're looking at them from the concept of, not only is that more deal flow for me to go generate long-term wealth and acquire more properties, it's the opportunity from a monetization standpoint for different MSA opportunities, helping to feed my lenders, additional partnerships and title companies, all these different ways to monetize. Everything gets bigger. But if we keep the core operating business too small and too tight, it minimizes that quantum leap effect we can have across the monetization and the wealth side. I get really fired up about this because it's the biggest game changer when we can get out of that small control mindset and into the grow mindset.
Yeah. And the other thing you will probably agree with this, but it's what I've learned, and I think it's accurate for a real estate team, or even a company. It's very difficult to scale talent. It is because you're hiring people like you, right? And so you can scale it from a Gary Keller, nationwide, and I have talented operators, but let's face it, the 100 and something thousand agents that are in KW all aren't rock stars, right? It's a small percentage. And the same would be true with all the brands, Berkshire, EXP, everybody, it would be true. But I just started looking. When I said, am I going to commit to do this? Am I really going to go out and get 300 people? Does that make sense? But I started looking at statistics, and it does make sense. We have, you look at Coldwell Banker, average sales per agent, it's about 6 per year. They're $1 billion brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Allen Tate is a regional company here in our market. They have 11,000 agents. They did almost 5 billion last year. They did 10,000 mortgages. They did 15,000 insurance policies. They have their own home warranty brand.
Gosh.
So I'm like, I could keep this thing small and ninja and elite. And it's real cool and everybody's happy and they're selling lots of homes. But if I only have 8 people out on the street, there's only so much deal flow they can bring to me where we can consider, do we want to buy this, wholesale it or whatever. But if I have 300, I just feel like that is going to work better.
You're 100% right. I was trying to pull it up, and I'll see if I can. We did it's real easy at Keller Williams because they are an open brand and everything's open books. We pull the top 100 agents or top 100 teams. Let me rephrase that. Okay. Within all of KW that had a average purchase price of $350 or less. And we pulled their statistics for their entire team, and the average team, and we're talking the big ones. You were talking Ben Kinney, Cody Gibson, Chris Suarez was separate at the time, but all these really, really large teams that everyone says, oh my gosh, if only I could be like them, and divided their total production by their agent count. They were all sub 2 transactions, and the majority of them were at 1 transaction per agent per month. And so if now you're saying, I want my agents to sell 6 or 8 homes a month, you're going to be limited in that capacity. And there was a huge, and I'll send it to you afterwards, Jason, so you can see it. It's okay. Really interesting. It might help to share with some of your team. There was a huge cross section where there was a separation. And in order to go above a certain production level as an entire organization, you had to have a certain number of agents within the business. Yeah. So I love that you were able intuitively to analyze everything, look at all the different businesses and be able to see that, because the majority of us have been beating our heads against the wall saying, why can't we just recruit better talent? Jordan said, you mean they are sub 2 units a month per agent? That's exactly right. And I'll send it to you as well, Jordan. I'll try to look it up and send it to both of you. Not try to look it up. I will look it up and send it to both of you. But yeah, they're all sub 2 units. You'll see the majority of them are right at about 1 unit per agent. But to Jason's point, 1 unit per agent, 300 agents, we're at 3,600 transactions a year, which, man, that's going to be A, some deal flow, and B, an unbelievable way to further monetize.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we'll have so many resources. We'll have capital. We have capital. We'll have more capital. And you know how I feel it's a service to those agents because they're going out there and let's face it, let's just say they're going to sell 8 houses this year. There's no, unless they have a wealthy spouse, there's no chance they're going to have enough income to step up and help somebody out and buy the home if they're in foreclosure.
Hmm?
But I can. And so and the other thing is I always reward our agents. So just even if they bring a deal to me, and we're not going to put it on the market, I'm going to buy it, they still get a commission. We still pay them a commission, you know. And then when I flip the house, if we do decide to do that, they will be the listing agent, or they'll, if they're not qualified to be the listing agent, they'll at least share in some of that commission. So there's a huge incentive for them there.
Total, and there should be. I want to jump into Jason in just a second. I'm going to share this with you real quick. And this is old data. This is back from September of 2020. But I want to jump into some of the wealth conversation, because now that we've laid out, hey, here's the purpose of why I'm building such a big business. I want to jump into your philosophy there in just a second, but just to show you, you're looking at GCI that, so average sales price here, as you can see, everybody was well, Bob Lucido was at 371. So I think we pulled maybe a little bit higher, maybe it was 375.
Right.
But these were the top 15 teams. They're annualized. So because it was only for 9 of the months, we took that and then annualized that overall production and GCI. So then you take their annualized closed volume, their current member team count, GCI per agent. This was the units per agent per year. So it's sub 2.
Yeah.
But if you look, Ben Kinney, 6. He's doing half a unit per month.
Right. And what with
a little bit higher, but if you know him, he has a different business model. That lead feed's different. Bob Lucido.
I think that's changed though.
It has changed. Like I said, this was old data. That has absolutely changed. And this would probably no longer be on here, unfortunately. But I thought this was really interesting. So that in the best of the best, this is what was happening during the best times. Yeah.
No, I would agree. And I'm actually surprised that some of them are in the 30s, to be honest with you, or at least one is that I can see. So, you know, that totally, that I think is dead on. I mean, that's exactly the numbers that I look at as well. And it is, we need, it just takes, you know, you can only do so many missions with Navy SEALs, right? And that's why we have 2 divisions. We have an Army and we have Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are cool, they're badass and all that, but the Army will scale you to the next level for sure, no question.
That's exactly right. So let's do a little bit of a pivot. And I realize I'm not getting to any of the questions I sent you beforehand, but it's because I get so passionate and excited to dive in and share it with everybody more about your business, because you're absolutely crushing it. So let's talk about the wealth and investment side. So we have the retail team.
Yeah.
You guys are absolutely crushing it today. You're growing to 300. You also mentioned a wholesale business. And I know you're investing pretty heavily. Can you share with us a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, for sure. We have been, I don't know how many years we've been flipping homes, but a lot of years. We probably do 25 to 30 a year, somewhere in that range. Wow. I have wholesaled more recently because when you go from 8 to 40, there's more people coming to you, and even though we've got some protocols set up, it's just more. So now I look at each deal and I'm like, you know, I bought it good enough that I can make what I need, and then I can leave some on the bone, and I'll flip it to one of my friends that's you know, I'll give it to them and they can go out and do the work and flip it and make it shiny. Sure. And that's fine, and that's worked out really, really well. We own a good bit of commercial. We'll probably have right around $10 million in commercial properties. We own some strip centers and different things. Looking at always I like commercial. I have residential. It's not my preference. Once I bought my first commercial building, I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. I've got 9 tenants under one roof. That's way better than having all this crap scattered all over the place. Even though we had a property management company and I didn't really do that much with it, but logistically it's a lot with single family.
Sure.
So a very wealthy friend of mine said, Jason, I could not even tell you any one person off the top of my head in America that's a billionaire because of single family homes. Buy commercial, buy multifamily, and just trust me. He's worth about 5 billion, so I guess he probably knows what he's talking about. So he's got it figured out a many years before me. But it's just a different product, but I love it. I actually love it. I'm looking at more potential commercial properties. We've liquidated some of our residential. We still have a handful, maybe 12 to 15 homes and we'll probably get rid of them as the tenants move out, to be honest with you. And really looking for those multi-family deals. It's tough though. We've got the VC companies and all this crazy Wall Street money just blew the apartment, buildings to the moon. So you can buy a condo in our market for $130,000, and a Class A apartment door is 185 grand. It's crazy. So the rent is pretty good, but it's still we're gonna watch. I think there's gonna be some resets when these guys' interest rates reset here in the next 3 to 5 years. I think we'll see some opportunity in apartments.
Oh man, I can feel the floodgates will be coming. 3 to 5 years is exactly right. And we've already started to see some of it in Texas. I'll send you a great email that actually, it was a post on Bigger Pockets recently.
Okay.
That I think you find really, really interesting. I'll send that over to you. But I agree with you, poising ourselves today to generate as much income as possible to be able to move forward when those bigger opportunities come across is really, really important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because whoever has the biggest war chest is going to do really well.
That's exactly right.
It's there's going to be a lot on sale, I have a feeling.
So if you were preparing yourself, we look back and I had just entered into the industry back in 2004, 2005, and didn't know what I didn't know. Although everyone warned me that it's not normal for there to be lotteries for houses. I worked for a builder at the time. Like, that's not how it goes. I thought it would always be that way. So I didn't prepare myself in any way, shape, or form for 2008 and then the opportunities that would come after. You have prepared yourself really well in a lot of different transitions. If you were providing advice to those of us who haven't been prepared in other transitions, what advice would you give us?
Don't be intimidated to go seek the knowledge from the people that have it. And I kind of hesitated with that to some degree and earlier in my career where, I was like, what am I going to say to this guy? He's like worth $300 million.
Right.
What I found is money doesn't change who you are. There's people with $300 million that are absolute jerks. And there's people that will tell you everything and actually flatter to do so. And so I wish I would have went and just asked more questions. So now what I have found and having relationships just basically all over the United States and multi countries now is the most successful people are just awesome. They share the most. I could probably call, I knew about 8 of those people on that list. I could probably hang up and call any one of them right now and they'd help me through anything.
Sure.
And I'm not KW, and it doesn't even have anything to do with KW. It has to do with getting around like-minded big thinkers. And when you do that, that's what I really spoke to me about the Be Wealthy group, is I knew a few people there. I didn't know a lot. I made a lot of new, really good friends, and I've been blowing them up ever since the event. And they're just like, yeah, man, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. This is how I do it.
That's awesome.
And it's absolutely, it's fantastic. And I think that I wish in 2008, 9, 10, I would have did that more, and I didn't. I mainly because I was slammed and busy and I didn't have my business scaled right, and so I was working like a crazy man. But also, I think everybody thought the world was on fire and nobody knew what the heck was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, and so hindsight, I learned through that. So now, if the market does what some people think it will, and I don't know that the residential side is going to blow up or not, but I know I'll ask questions faster. I'll seek more knowledge quicker, and especially for anybody that's I'm probably not in this group, but just new folks, like just go find somebody that's doing what you want to do. Look, if they're just a jerk, they're just a jerk. There's more than one of them. I will promise you that, though. Go find somebody else. There's somebody else in the room that will sit shoulder to shoulder with you and say, "Hey, this is how I did it. Here's my playbook. Copy it." There's enough food at the table for everybody. Always. And so just go help folks. I mean, that's really it. And the other thing that I have learned too, because I do practice what I preach, so I do help folks, but I also know that it creates a lot of opportunity for me. I mean, I'm an investor in 8 different businesses, and the only reason I have those opportunities that are not in my market, they're nowhere around here, some of them have nothing even to do with real estate at all. I have those opportunities because I helped those people for years and years and years, and then they became successful, and they're like, "Hey, you might want to take a look at this. This might be an opportunity for you." And some of them may be nothing, but there's 2 of them that are looking really good.
That's incredible.
So, and just just help folks. I mean, that's the best advice I could give anybody. I mean, seek it, but don't just hoard it. Take the knowledge and share it.
Pay it forward. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It absolutely builds I have had the luxury of being able to observe and speak with different members like yourself who've had incredible success. And one of the biggest pieces that has spoken the most to me of our entire network, of our entire mastermind group, has been their willingness to help each other, help their community, and to not, as you put it, hoard information, and to come from contribution and celebrate each other's wins versus a competition around it. And it's been so cool to see that weave together and people doing different opportunities together, going and investing in different things together, or cheering each other on and giving each other the tools and resources to help each other. If there's one thing I could say, or it'll be 2 things, that would be the trends that I've seen and you shared with us today, was not only the hustle and thinking in scale versus just a onesie twosie hustle, like a true scale. How do I go after the bluest sky or the largest the largest fruit, versus the onesie twosie, combined with how do I surround myself with the right people to show me the fastest way to get there.
Yeah.
It is so cool. And I thank you so much for pouring into our group and sharing all of this with us. I take so many notes on these calls, and I have literally 3 pages from you, Jason. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to September, and so I 84 pages of notes from the first mastermind I went to.
You need to get you another notebook.
Well, it's I use the Remarkable, so it never ends.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
It never ends. It does run out of battery every now and then, but that's it.
It's kind of like you. It needs a few hours of sleep.
That's
and
it.
Then back up and running.
That's it.
Well, good deal. Jason, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in September. If people do have questions that are our current members and want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
My cell phone is 336-362-3807. You can call me direct or send me a text, or just Google me. You should find me.
He's at the top of the Google searches.
That's
I love
right.
it. Well, thank you again, Jason, and we'll see you soon.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.